Hello, I am Rakaba18. Today I'm bringing you another in-depth operator guide for Rainbow Six Extraction. This is Alibi. She is one of my favorite operators in the entire game. All of these operators tend to bring something really cool and unique to the game, but Alibi is one of the top operators in this game, in my opinion. Anytime she's available in the Maelstrom, I tend to try to pick her and use her as much as I can. We'll get into some of her abilities and some of her loadout options as we move forward into the video. But I want to make sure that before we start that you have subscribed to the channel here. Please hit that subscribe button and make sure to like and let me know what you think of these videos below. What operator do you want to see next in this series? Please let me know below. Also, make sure to check out my Twitch channel, Merkaba18 on Twitch. I am live Monday through Thursday, live on Twitch there. I do in-depth live guides for the Maelstrom and some of the in-game content and some of the events that they do in this game. So make sure to check out my Twitch channel as well. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get right into it. So we're going to start with her advancement. As I said, Alibi is a really superior operator in this game. I almost said athlete, but she is not an athlete. She is an operator. And so here we have a Prisma, which is essentially a decoy that attracts enemies in the area. Enemies attacking the decoy will automatically become scanned. So she's primarily a decoy and trap operator. That intel that she gathers from the decoys will really help and become a secondary knock-on effect. But the primary reason you use them is to divert attention away from your team or away from an objective. We are going to show some in-game footage here so that you can kind of see what that looks like. It is important to maximize Alibi, get her all the way to level 10 before you really fully see the power of her ability. And we will get into that. Her advancement really makes a huge difference, and you'll see why here in just a minute. Her skill cap in terms of like what she brings to the table is pretty high. A really good Alibi can change an entire operation and can change an entire Maelstrom if you do it correctly. So, but here we go. With level 2, you end up with a increase to, you go from 2 to 3 decoys. Now at this stage they do not recharge or anything like that, so you end up with 3 of them, but they go away once you've used them. Now crucially, you can pick these up, and we'll show you that in the game here in a minute. At level 3, you end up with a primary shotgun. I almost never use this gun, but we'll get into her loadout here in just a minute. At level 4, her speed is increased by 30%, which is a huge buff to her speed. At level 5, she has a really cool perk, which increases her reload speed, aiming speed, and weapon swapping speed by 35%. That is really crucial because you're going to want to move around a lot as Alibi. You're going to want to switch between weapons. And as you can see here on the screen, she has a really long reload time on her LMG. We'll get into that in here in just a minute. But that is a super useful perk that will help you utilize her toolkit in the best way possible. At level 6, you get a handgun, which is a revolver. Really good gun. We'll get into that here again in just a second. A decoy drone. At level 7, a decoy drone can be deployed via your react drone. So if you bring an XR drone, you can deploy them from the drone itself rather than having to actually run over and throw it. And we'll show you what that looks like, and we'll get into some more advanced tips here in just a minute. At level 8, you get a decrease to damage taken by 20%, which is a big deal for Alibi. She tends to be a little bit more squishy than the average operator. Most of the time, you'll hopefully not take much damage if you're using her ability correctly. But when she takes damage, she tends to take it really hard. So she is one that having any kind of damage reduction is really important. At level 9, you get her gun that is one of my favorites that she carries. It's the Alda machine gun. We'll talk about that again here in just a second. So at level 10, this is the really critical update. You get 4 total decoys, and then you will now recharge every 60 seconds. There is a lot of misunderstanding about this. There used to be that you could only deploy a certain number of these at a time, but as far as I'm aware, and this could change at the time of this shooting of this video, they may change this at any time, so keep that in mind. But at the time of shooting this video, the number is pretty substantial, so you can deploy just about as many of those as you can. So what I will often do, and I'll show you this in the in-game footage here in just a minute, the decoy, you can throw them out, let them recharge, go about the map and clear it, and then deploy some more. And if your team is patient enough, you can end up with as many as 10 or 15 of these decoys on the map in order to help you. Really helpful on really harder objectives and deeper into the Maelstrom. But let's go ahead and talk about her loadout. She starts with an MK Storm, which is a submachine gun. Really, really decent starting weapon. Not my favorite gun in the game. Obviously, don't even use it enough to remove the suppressor, as you can see there. But it does have, let's go ahead and remove the suppressor so I can show you. It starts with a base of 26 damage. Has a really high fire rate and a pretty low capacity. So you're going to be dumping clips quite a bit with this one. Her AC S12 is a gun I almost never use. I almost never use shotguns as a general thing, but this is a personal preference thing. I don't think you're going to have a scenario in which this shotgun is going to be your best option. If anything, you probably want to use the MK for fast fire and quick reload and such. I tend to use her Ulda, which has a 80 round mag, and then with the reload speed perk that she ends up with, that tends to really, really come out as the best option. But that again is a personal preference. All of these guns for the most part are going to do you some good. I do think her overall gun kit is one of the weaker ones in the game, in my opinion. I think it's pretty much the LMG and then a huge drop off from there. So you will see some people use the Storm every now and then, but for the most part, it's this one here. I use a 1.5 scope on this one and a compensator. You could make a different argument for single shots if you really use those, but as you can see, it doesn't really reduce the recoil very much. But yeah, so compensator is usually where it's at for me. Almost always using the vertical grip there as well. So there is some of the primary weapons. Let's talk about her. She has two essentially revolvers here. One of them does 30 base damage. One does 46 with a suppressor. Let's take that off. And as you can see, 78 damage versus 30. So almost always going to use the Keratos here. And I do tend to suppress it just so that I have a silenced option. But you can make an argument for having the muzzle brake and reducing the recoil pattern. It is a really, really powerful gun that does quite a bit of damage. And if you silence it, it does reduce the damage by quite a bit, but it does continue to make you more stealthy. A lot of that's going to depend on your skill level and your personal preferences. There are no scopes, obviously, for this one, but yeah, almost always you're going to use the Keratos 357. This one you can make an argument for in a... Well, actually, even in this case, there's no silencer option on the bailiff, so you'd almost never want to use this gun because it's going to do less damage. This one's going to do more damage while silenced than this one's going to do. The obvious difference being the recoil pattern is going to make a huge difference there. So almost always using the 357. Now, let's talk about tech when it comes to Alibi. I've mentioned in the previous videos that intelligence gatherers and a lot of these alts tend to remove the need for anything else in terms of, like, let's say you're using Pulse, you don't necessarily need to bring a Recon Drone, or if you're using Lion, you don't need to bring a Recon Drone. If you're using Doc, you don't necessarily need to bring your own revive kit. I tend to personally prefer the revive kit. I tend to make more mistakes than the average player, but this kind of comes down again to personal preference, and we'll go through the differences and the benefits of each as we move forward. So for this, one of the things that I will tell you about Alibi is that if you use the XR drone, you can deploy her Alibi decoys in game through the drone. So we're going to demonstrate what that looks like. I don't personally tend to do that very much. I tend to just throw them down as I move around. And I'll give you a specific reason for that as we get into the in-game footage. But we're going to equip it here and show it to you in the in-game footage here in just a minute. But I tend to use either an explosive harness or a revive kit. And you can even make an argument for the rush pistol, the auto turret, but basically anything in the ammo satchel, and you're set there. So we'll equip the XR Recon Drone and get into the game, and I'll show you why I don't tend to use it in this way, but there is an option there for you if you have a high-level skill cap. So let's go ahead and get into that in-game footage real quick. All right, here we are in-game with Alibi. As I said in the previous guides and with all of my guides, this is a max-level operator guide. Each of the operators has different abilities that function differently at different levels. So keep that in mind as we're going through this. Her decoys are going to recharge every 60 seconds, and we start with 4. At lower levels, they're not going to recharge, and you're going to have less of them. So let's go ahead and start with some basics here. I am using the Keratos 556 without a silencer and the Alda LMG. So as you see here, you can throw out decoys, and these will go down and create a copy of our Alibi. Now, as you can see, she's always carrying, I think, the Storm, the SMG, either that or the shotgun there. So she is a copy of myself, and you can throw out as many of these as you can. We'll go ahead and throw 4 out just to show you. So these will attract the attention, just like these act almost as if you are standing where they are. So they attract the attention of Archaeans, and they will run up and attack them. Now, if they attack them, they automatically become scanned. Crucially here, these can be destroyed. So a smasher can step on them or smash them. They can be destroyed through damage by Archaeans. Some Archaeans take longer than others. Smashers will typically, I think, kill them pretty quickly. So will Proteans, and obviously Apexes as well. So just keep that in mind. They can be destroyed. And now, as you can see at the bottom right there, my recharge is almost up already. And so we're going to throw another one out here as soon as that's done. Now, they do take a moment to deploy. And so they're not an instant decoy. And so if you're standing, they're best utilized, therefore, as a tool in advancement of being seen. So you don't want to throw these out. If you're standing here and there's an Archaean right there looking at you, he's going to see you and want to attack you first. You're the one that has his attention, and he'll howl or whatever. But then if you throw these out and I'm standing over here, and that Archaean is standing right there, he will see my decoy, treat it just like a regular enemy, like a friend or one of your teammates, and they will run up and attack it. They'll howl, they'll shoot projectiles at it. So they're best used as a distractor, but best used in advance of that rather than in an emergency. So you can go back and pick these up, as you can see. Another really useful tip here, let me show you this, is that if you throw them close to objects, it may block it from being deployed. So you want to make sure that you're deploying it in an area where it can fully deploy itself. So if you throw it up against that, you're not going to have a decoy. You can go back and pick it up, however, and correct it. Needs to fully deploy there. So there you go. Basic tips there for you. Now, crucially with this, you will want to use her as a decoy on objectives, as a way to distract enemies in large numbers. So let's say you're doing a rescue attempt or something. Oh, here's another quick little tip, by the way. If you have all 4 in your pocket, they will not let you pick up the other one. So those are just on the floor until you deploy another one. Now you can run over there and deploy one, come back and pick this up, etc. But once your pocket is full, you can't pick up more than 4. So as I was saying, you want to use these as a distractor for enemies. You want to use it as an objective defense decoy. So on serial scan, for example, we can, let's say the serial scan is right here, and we're trying to defend this specific objective. You want to lock down this area, and you want to place it in areas that will demonstrate. So we're scanning here. Enemy comes up and sees your decoy there, as you can just see. They will howl and run straight towards it, and we'll kind of demonstrate for you what it looks like. Now, did a little bit of damage there. A little bit of damage there. And now my drone is done. So each enemy will take certain amounts of abilities or hits to destroy it. We can throw another one out there. We're still scanning, and now the enemies are attacking my decoys rather than me. Also important here is that if they do attack, it will alert you, and you will see. So let's say we deploy them here, and we'll run it across the map, like to the other side over here. If an enemy comes through here, and I'll demonstrate this for you here real quick. Watch. So we run over here. And anything that attacks that area, let me come over here and see if we can find some more of these guys to demonstrate this point. Anything that runs through it will automatically scan. Now that does not include any kind of nest. It's only Archaeans. So watch. This guy will hopefully, let's see, get his attention here. Come on over here, big guy. So as you can see here, he's running over towards my other decoy. It will automatically scan them for me so that you can see them, and that gives intel to your team. So not only are they a decoy, but they are a secondary sort of intelligence gathering tool, so you want to keep that in mind at all times. You want to place them in places where they're more likely to encounter enemies while you're defending an objective. Let's say we're doing a sabotage tower here. Rather than having them rush straight towards you, you'll have a decoy that you can use to then shoot them or stop them from destroying your decoys. And they're less likely to attack you or your team. They're also less likely to attack the sabotage towers, etc. Now, let's talk about the Recon Drone tool. This is one of the less utilized aspects of her kit, and it's one that I personally don't use either. So as you can see here, we did bring a Recon Drone in, and we'll go ahead and, as you can see, hit the button, and we'll show you what this looks like in game. It essentially sets the decoy on top of the drone, and then you can move around with it. Now, that is super useful in a certain number of ways. Let's go ahead and deploy it. So now we have a Recon with a decoy on top of it. And as you can see, he's attacked there and he's scanned. So this acts as a scanner and a decoy. So you can then take and kite enemies away if you need to. You can take them and move them away from your team with these decoys. Like, say we want to have him attack over here. This is a really high skill cap aspect of her character. She can take and drag these enemies over here so that they will attack me, and then our team can run through very safely. Now they're over there, and we can sneak by without having to do anything. Super useful, super underrated aspect of her kit. I don't personally tend to use it very much because it takes a lot of time. And there's another specific reason that I don't use it, and I'll show you that here. So let's say we're down here, or we're starting in this subzone, and we're coming up. Let's just pretend that we're starting here, and we're going to drone out. This is one way you don't. Let's recall this, actually. Let's start this again. This is one way you don't want to use this. Put this on here. And so let's say we're starting this level and we're just using this as a decoy. Anything that sees me is going to come up and attack me and automatically start to howl. So it becomes an active, like, aggro mechanism in which everything on the map as we move through it is going to alert and chase after me. Now, it can get the enemies to run away from you, but you don't necessarily want to use the Recon Drone as an alert mechanism. You don't want to be alerting everything throughout the map as you move around. So there you can see that is specifically why in that sense we don't want to use that in that way. That is primarily used as a way to lure enemies away from a specific target. So like if you're doing a rescue, for example, and the rescue target's right here, you want to lure the guys away. Now that can backfire and people will automatically attack the rescue, but you want to try to use it to get enemies to come to where you want them to attack rather than where they are. It takes a lot of skill and it can really easily backfire on you, so you want to be very careful to practice that and learn it as you go. So that is some advanced tips for Alibi. As I said, she is a really fast and fragile app operator, but if you use her correctly and you're deploying these drones in a way that makes sense, your team will take less damage because these decoys are going to absorb it for you, and you're going to gather intelligence as you move throughout the map. So as a result of her kit, I tend to use other things like Revive Kit or Explosive Belt, whatever your team needs in that specific circumstance. It frees up information gathering, it frees up decoys, etc. for you. The other thing to talk about with her is that you also don't need to use scan grenades, or it will also free you up to bring other types of grenades so that you're not bringing the same types of grenades every time, or everybody's not stacking the same. But that again is a personal preference based on the need of your team and the need of the objective. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think of it below. Please remember to check out my Twitch channel live Monday through Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at Merkaba18. Please hit the subscribe button, and if you like this video, make sure to like it. It helps me a lot and it makes me smile. So thank you so much for watching, and see you again next time.